Bonjour les amis, Bogdan is here, and today's issue about the regulations that recently adopted in India relating the taxation of gambling or online gaming profit. So there's been a lot of talks about this regulation, a lot of rumors and some unconfirmed facts. And now that it has been already 2 weeks from its adoption, we know some more. And we also know that in the August 2, there will be a final decision on the particular issues of application of this taxation. So let's make some points onto regarding these regulations. First of all, I will say it straight that gambling, online gambling, is not allowed, is illegal in India at all. So this is the first point we must understand. There's been a problem with the complex division of authority and its powers between the federal government and also the states, but the fact stays the fact that it is not legal to play, for example, online casino games in India. It is not legal to be involved in online casinos. It's not even legal to place bets on sports and so on, to wager things like this. But there's been a crusade over the claim of 1 trillion of US dollars in the industry of startups, particularly high-tech startups. So Indian government would make efforts to make this industry, thrilling industry of startups grow, and this is how there appeared now worth of 2.5 billion industry of fantasy sports in India. So my second claim, apart from online gambling, is illegal. So my second claim is that this regulation called GST regulation, because this is a Council of Goods and Services Taxation, GST, that has accepted this regulation. So this GST regulation concerns by 80%, it concerns fantasy sports in India, because this is exactly the 80% of the whole market has been involved in fantasy cricket, fantasy football leagues, and so on. So we are actually talking about this particular segment of online gaming. It is even called online gaming because online gambling as a term is ruled out of the question because it is known that it's illegal. Alright, so what we knew about these fantasy leagues on cricket, sports, and football, and so on. We know that this discussion evolves around one particular crucial point. There's a games of chance and games of skills. So all the industry participants claiming that the fantasy sports are a game of skills because a part of skills is larger than a part of chance. I made this like a quick investigation and I can see that this is simply not true. So all this talks about this booming industry, booming sector of fantasy sports worth of 2.5 billion is just talks. This is simple gambling, and I will show you how. But the idea of this legislation is to put an industry, a sin industry taxation, like in alcohol, in cigarettes, and so on, over this sector, which in fact is meant to tell that we, the Indian government, understands that all this is gambling. So it puts a sign of equation between so-called online games for money and the gambling. So it's actually puts it on the whole umbrella and puts a sin industry taxation on it. So it took a lot of it made a lot of noise here in India, and people were saying that these are efforts to kill this industry, but in fact this is just an early sign. This is probably a first measure to be put here, because ultimately everybody knows it's illegal And the government that's putting in this sin industry taxation is making only a first step. After that, this taxation will go on, and some particularly gambling-like activities will be simply banned. So the problem of India, government regime is that some states in the north were ruling out this is illegal and is banned, but some states, especially their courts, has been ruling it's not illegal. So there's some ambiguity in application of law, but it's not ambiguity on the on the high level, on the level of regime. It's clear. So what about this tax? What are the points of application of this tax? So we know that it is 28% taxation. So I call it sin industry tax on what? So the question here is, what is the base of taxation? The industry participants has been claiming it's not clear what kind of taxation it is. Is it on all the deposits amount, or is it on a bet size amount? So it actually is not actually clear. So I made some investigation, and I can see that most probably after the clarification coming up on the 2nd of August, most probably it will be taxation on the whole amount of deposits, because as I was saying, the industry is about fantasy sports. Fantasy sports, this is a justification that it's a gambling actually. So fantasy sports works like this: people which buy an entry ticket or make an entry payment, which is a participation fee, which means this is a game for money, pay to enter a game, and then using this participation fee, they can create a team of their own using some interface and populating this team with players and so on and so on. So there are obviously some level of subscription and some additional money that will be requested for this or that feature in this application. Most of them are mobile applications. So once this for money activity has been made, the participant, the players or the users, they can participate in online tournaments with so-called teams and so on, and these tournaments will bring them real money prizes. So, but sometimes participation for these tournaments, well, most of the time participation in these tournaments is for fee also. So we understand from this that there's a pay to enter game in which there will be required additional money or entry tickets paid for money, bought for money, and for this, which is a stake obviously, and for this money you will have a chance of winning some prize, monetary prize, on an event that you have no control over, which means gambling itself. And this event is an outcome of a particular sports event. For example, if you make a team of players that would score in the respective teams in real life, you get some points, and then by these points you get some monetary return. So you obviously have no control over this performance, nothing in your particular power, but this is a gambling, so it's works like this. From this, I deduce that obviously this taxation will be put on this entry ticket money, and this is kind of fair taxation, because it is so in terms of taxation of alcohol and cigarettes, and it's mostly all this comes the same in the eyes of the government. And the idea of this taxation is to discourage people from gambling, because from gambling and other sin industries, because the government has been seeing this particularly detrimental effect of these games, whatever you call them, but it is obvious that gambling games or real money games. So they're particularly detrimental in terms of developing habits, especially in young people, in children, because they are not really forbidden to play if you are underage. So weighting the particular bonuses or benefits of this gambling industry, which makes up to, as they say, up to 50,000 labor places, and the downturns of this industry, which can literally kill people, or devastate the whole families, and the moral, because this is mostly Islamic country industry, Islamic or Hinduist country. So this is a whole different things they put on the weight. So this is my take on the idea of gambling taxation regime newly imposed in India. We will wait for a couple of days till August for clarification of the government, and meet you again. If you have your questions, comments, please don't hesitate to submit it here. If you want to put a question to me in person, you can find my email on this page also. Thanks for watching. Bye.